Recording in progress. Hey y'all, it's your favorite Blue Martian, Naughty, aka Queen Goddess Hope. I pray that you're doing well today. I am not at my best. Uh, I'm suffering from like an allergy reaction, which is prohibiting me from speaking as best as I usually like to. But I just wanted to come in today and share with you a couple of gems for you, and hopefully my scarf isn't much of a distraction by it going in and out. Um, I want to talk today about cleansing your circle and how often you believe it should be done, right? Considering that many of us have been in long-term friendships and relationships, I just want to say one thing, just out of sheer observation too. Men tend to hold on to their friendships longer than women do. Like you'd have to do something so triggering, so effed up to where that male friendship would cease for good. Whereas women, I feel like it's a little bit more catty. I've seldomly had felt fallouts with people. It's just more or less assessing the room and making an executive decision for my life and to keep people at a distance. I feel that if you're a gossiper, I don't want you around because I don't know what you're gossiping about. And if I've let you in close to me, chances are that you're sharing that information with somebody. I had an old friend that I felt like we were really close. And anytime she would come around into my life, like if we had went some months or some years without hanging out, all of a sudden we'd just be like fucking chaos, like out of nowhere all the time. So I had to consciously remove that person out of my energetic field, even if I didn't want to, right? Sometimes that's also a thing, right? There may be writing on the wall. There may have been an eye that somebody was telling you about. That has happened to me too, right? A friend of yours is telling you, like, hey, I don't like this person's energy. There's something about them that you will completely overlook and yet and still believe that you are doing the right thing because that hasn't been exposed to you. And that's also a thing, right? Are you ready to fall in line with that? Do you trust your friends' inklings and instincts? I remember I did a 30th birthday party and I didn't want everybody to be together. But I'm like, I have friends individually and everybody's a little bit different and we like different things separate and everybody coming together might be like a baby monsoon and sometimes they get along and sometimes they don't. Um and that also shows that's always why I never wanted to do birthday parties, collectively as a unit. I'd rather have everybody separate. But when we come together, it's a vibe. I haven't done that in a long time. Um, you know, Thinking about the fact that you have to assess your circle and the energy that you're surrounded by, especially during major life changes, whether it be marriages, divorces, babies, job changes, or losses. Sometimes you have to take an assessment with self and see how the energy is and if it's changed or if it stays the same. Maybe there was something that somebody in your circle went through that's going to now push that person away too, right? And are you good enough of a friend to check in? Um, or do you intuitively know, because that is a thing and that is real, that the energy just is no longer aligning and maybe it's time to separate? I've had a lot of women come into my life and we have been friends for 5, 10, 15 years, maybe more. And then they get married, and now all of a sudden, energetically, they no longer want me around them because maybe their husband got a wandering eye, or maybe their husband likes the natural energy that I give off, but their wife doesn't. I've had that happen to me a lot of times too, right? People talk about pretty privilege, but they don't recognize how many relationships are severed or no longer thriving because one of their friends looks like this and the other doesn't. Shout out to Dr. Shauna. She's been posting some really, really great tools and concepts and just energy surrounding relationships and how people should show up in them, even friendships, right? So going back to what I said, I've seldomly had fallouts with friends. And some of them have been very, very noticeable, right? And for me, just people know Libras to just be like, if you done, we done. Like our cutoff game is lethal and you'll feel it. And it's usually the energy and just knowing that you no longer have that person in your life and having that removed, that energy is removed. You're no longer protected or at peace, right? Think about sinners with the mojo bag, right? He had that energy, that safety, that protection around him. Even though it was a physical item, it was also a spiritual item too, right? Same thing goes with somebody praying for you or somebody just being connected to you. Maybe that person really is chosen. Maybe that person really does have a little bit more extra blessings on their life from the Most High. And maybe because you're connected to that individual, you are equally as blessed, right? A lot of times we see couples get together and they may have been thriving on their own, or so what we believe. And then you see them come together. And if it's really a true match made in heaven, then you see that elevation, that glow that starts being emitted from both parties, right? Oftentimes, men get a little bit more comfortable. They put on some weight. They look healthy. They're eating a lot because their woman is cooking, making sure that they're fed and nurtured and you know that's a noticeable glow. A lot of women start getting thicker because they're getting their backs blown out. That's an energetic glow. But even in situations like that, right, those are powerful energy exchanges where people are taking advantage of those types of things. Let's talk about like arguments, grief, you lost a loved one, you're having sexual exchange, you went to a concert. Me as empathic, sometimes it's really difficult for me to go into large spaces, large crowds. Like I'm the person who has to have their back against the wall so I can scope everybody out and see what is really jumping in this space that I'm in, right? And other times I'm like, all right, cool. I'm cool to thrive in this space. I wear a head covering 9 times out of 10 because I'm protecting my energy, right? A lot of people wear head coverings to let them know that they're married, or depending on what color it is in certain religions, let you know that they're single, they are approachable. They don't speak to a man unless if spoken to first. Every culture has their own things. Christianity, they also do the same thing. If their husband is home or if they're conducting some type of Bible study or some type of family study, the woman will cover her head. That's how I was raised. So, wearing head coverings was a normal one and two, not only just for bed to make sure that your hair is in place for the next day, but you're energetically protecting your energy in the sleep space, right? In the realms, higher dimensions in consciousness. People don't realize like you covering your head kind of protects you and shields you from maybe some type of dark magic or some type of energetic energy that somebody's trying to give to you during those witching hours, right? Those 3 to 4, 5 a.m. times when the veil is extremely thin. Usually the threes to fours, right? A lot of people wake up during that time and they have no idea why. And that's because the veil is thin. I keep talking about how the veil is so thin, even with the sun. Where I am right now, we're in triple digits. It's really hot here. And while I may be able to withstand it, I'm getting that like everyday tan glow. A lot of people may not be able to, right, be able to withstand that. But at night, it is equally as hot as it is sometimes in the day, right? And at night, the earth is still getting hit with a lot of energy, with a lot of force. And maybe the veil is thinner than we anticipated, right? I had saw something on I want to say it was Facebook. I'm not sure, one of the Meta apps. And it was like this baby hammerhead shark fell from the sky. And there was lots of jokes in there talking about Sharknado. And I thought it was hysterical. I had tagged an old coworker of mine, Marlene, and I was like, Marlene was approaching 55 when her and I was working together, and I had like was barely over 30. And she was like, I'm going home to watch Sharknado. And I'm like, Shark what? So she's like, yeah, they got a new one coming out. So the fact that people immediately started talking about Sharknado and things falling from the sky, I just thought it was hysterical because I know nothing about the movie, but I immediately thought of Marlene. She was a beautiful woman, somebody who I needed in my life at that time. Energetically, I had just got out of engagement, and I was really trying to get my footing in the world. And I was in school and I was working at Walmart as a customer service manager, and then I kind of just got tired energetically dealing with people, right? People in Walmart aren't always the nicest, especially when it comes to customer service. So I wanted to hide, and I gave up my position for one of my cashiers to take on, and I went into the cash office because I had 10 years of banking experience. So I quickly managed the banking, and they had hardly any problems there. So that is where I met Marlene. She was the 5 to 2 a.m.er, and me and her became the 5 and 2 a.m.ers, and we would count the drawer. We would take turns. Somebody would physically count the cash, somebody would manage the computer portion of it. And we got along great. And this is where I still kind of had like blinders on to white supremacy going on in the ethers, aka society, because I just was blessed to have been in a town and around multiple cultures. I consider my old high school, Old Bridge High School, to be completely 180 opposite from this high school that I started at, which was Port Richmond High School in Staten Island. And then I moved over to Bridge to live with my mom, and now I got like the United Nations in the backyard, and I'm thankful for that because I needed that variety, right? Coming from a predominantly Black and Hispanic school to the United Nations is wild. It's a culture shock where now I'm the minority, and I needed that, right? So working with Marlene, an older Jewish woman who was in her 50s, and seeing me coming in my late 20s, early 30s, recognizing that people have beautiful minds, people have cool features and cool cultures. And, I may not be well versed in many things, but maybe she's never been this close to someone who is Afro Latina. And I've never been that close to somebody who's, an elder Jewish woman. And now we are coming together, creating the best of both worlds and getting the job done. Right. So sometimes those experiences help you. But I say that all to say, you know, I still needed some type of protection during that time because I was naive. And oftentimes I would still go to sleep with my head wrapped up, not realizing that I had friends who were jealous or intimidated by my ambition because at that time I had 3 self-published books. I had an LLC already, and I was going to college full time at night after I left there from 4 to 10. And I still needed some type of guidance, and I didn't have anyone to guide me into a lot of things. So I just knew that I had some type of energy that I needed to protect because all of a sudden I had haters and I didn't know what that meant. Right. So kind of going back to those life-changing events, grief, sexual exchange, concerts, being in very public places where it may be tough for me to take on that energy because I'm empathic, right? Because it may take me 3 days to now lay and get all of my energy back energetically somehow, some way, because I've exerted or overexerted myself. Um, People don't realize how much it takes to be an observant energy, or how much it takes to really stop, look, and listen and understand that everybody really isn't for you. And I've talked about this multiple times in the past, but I recognize that there are a lot of new people on the page, so it's impossible to hear at least the last 6 years of content. but recognizing that there was a time when I would talk about how angry I would get or how I always wanted to argue because maybe that was what I was exposed to as a child, right? Um, Growing up in the projects, there's always trauma more than there is happiness, right? You're just growing up living with multiple families and project buildings, and it's dark energy there, and it's difficult to escape that as well. So, recognizing that was a trauma response, I started treating romantic relationships in that same exact fashion, right? Just always being angry and not really recognizing that I needed to express myself in some type of way that would allow me to calm that energy down and not always be so upset or angry or just to kind of push people buttons. But a lot of times those people didn't recognize that they were also pushing my buttons or they were ignoring the signs that I was openly telling them, like, hey, you're pushing my buttons, I'm gonna explode soon. And then when you expose now, you look fucking crazy, right? So recognizing that to be a thing too. Um, so usually I mean, this was all, hearsay at one point, but I believe there's some validity to it. Maybe the times may be off, but I was like, think about when you get angry. I seldomly raise my voice. There was a time I didn't raise my voice for 4 years. And then I had this thing with my mom, and that was the first time I had raised my voice in a long time. And ironically enough, I didn't stay as mad as I thought I would because I recognized like this was something that she would do to trigger me anyway. So that also, knowing people's things and how you fall victim to their bullshit sometimes, right? That's the thing, that's real. People you love know how to tempt you or to push your buttons. So being in like romantic relationships and recognizing that people knew how to tempt my buttons because they thought it was so cool because I'm so nice or, whatever the case, I've been in relationships like that where people would do that intentionally. And realizing that I could no longer tolerate that energy because I lacked place and boundaries. So going back, think about if there are 28 to 31 days on a Gregorian calendar, right? And if you're in a romantic relationship, that takes at least 15 days of anger and raising your voice out of you energetically. Wouldn't you think that you're going to be technically angry for at least 28 to 31 days out of the month, while you physically may not be yelling or screaming, but energetically you feel that energy within your bones, within your blood cells, within your life, right? I had thought that if you're angry with somebody, if you have an argument with somebody every other day, because that's the energy that it delivers, right? Oh my God, perfect example. We were watching Why Did I Get Married with Tyler Perry, 1 and 2 over the weekend. And hearing Tasha Smith's character now versus back then, it was funny, but we realize how toxic that is now, right? How she consistently reacted instead of talking those main conversation points, right? And the second one, the neighbor was talking about how she kept hearing loud noises from her bedroom and she immediately went to her husband's job, who was a news anchor for sports, and just straight embarrassed him when it wasn't even him. She didn't even go to the house or wait or inquire, right? That's toxic energy. So think about it. Some people think that becomes normal because Marcus was happy, like, well, I get to bone later and the sex is fiery. So whatever it is, what it is. And Angela was just like, I don't give a F. I want his password. He don't need to have a life with me. I know how many miles it takes for him to get home. I know if he took these extra miles that he went to Keisha's house, just all of that unnecessary energy. So when you have situations like that, and it's almost every single day, your body, your nervous system, nothing quiets down. Nothing in you is allowing to have those peaceful moments and memories. So energetically, you're filled with that anger in you for 28 to 31 days because whether if you had an argument every day or every other day, you know that it's going to come. So you're anticipating that push up, you're anticipating that next argument. Your central nervous system is never quieting down. And I had to sit here and think about this on my own, right? Because I felt like my nervous system never had an opportunity to level on its own. And recognizing that now that I'm having multiple different reactions to foods and drinks, and now I can't even have the normal things that I used to eat all the time, it's mainly because my central nervous system is out of whack. You know, just an incident that recently happened to me on the Christmas holiday, 2024, I felt like that took my entire nervous system out of whack. So now my body is rejecting certain foods that are really meant for me where I'm not technically allergic to them. It's just that it no longer processes and breaks down accordingly because my nervous system hasn't been regulated. So this is me being open and honest and coming and talking to you about these things because if you've been born into that type of energy, which I have and was, right, growing up in the inner city and then becoming an adult, still now living those same patterns out loud and now creating a life of my own, but then having things happen to me that prohibit me from regulating my central nervous system. What do you think is eventually going to happen? My body doesn't even know how to manage peace. And this is why it's so serious for me to maintain a certain level of peace because people don't know what your trauma. I don't have a fucking barcode. I used to want a barcode on my neck when I was like um seventh grade. I was like, that's the first tattoo I want. I want a barcode. I want people to scan me and know the goddamn ingredients, and the percentages. And that shit gonna say 50% Boricua, 50% Bayesian. Right? It's gonna come up. So, recognizing that is an impossible trait, it's still something that takes time. I have to trust you enough to be able to be vulnerable with you. And right now, at my age, I'm openly vulnerable with people up front as opposed to keeping that information for myself like I used to. I used to have a major wall up. It used to take a long time. I would never tell people that I love them first. I would never show any emotion or energy. I'm probably still like this to this day until I felt like it was safe to share that, until I felt like that person could receive my trust back. But if your energy isn't matching with that, then I'm not going to be able to share and confide in you and treat you in a way that I feel like you should be treated. The best love comes from somebody that you can give and take equally from. And a lot of people are not doing that in this day and age at all. So I rather just stay in my peace pocket and keep thriving because it's nothing for me to stay single, right? It's nothing for me to continue to pour in this energy into myself. That's why I got into yoga. I recognized that I was untrustworthy of a lot of people and things because, let's be frank, they gave me good reason to not trust them, right? And if somebody is acting in a way or operating in a mindset of where I can no longer trust them, then I'm going to do whatever it is in my power to protect myself. And because I recognized that I needed to heal those types of spaces, I decided to recluse and stop dating because I wanted to heal that part of me. So the healed part of me has never dated. And then I'm like, damn, did I wait too long? Because this culture of men is really messy. But it's just simply me having a coping mechanism of protecting myself as opposed to giving out or overexerting myself so much. Um, that's my toxic trait, right? My toxic trait number one is not asking people for help or assistance when I need it. And number two is not trusting people. Because to me, everybody has an ulterior motive because they have always had an ulterior motive. I've never seen people just come up on some like willy-nilly shit. Like, hey, I want to bless you. I want to honor you. I'm here for you. Haven't happened in a long time. I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to grief, you know, depending on who is around you and if they can show up for you during those times in their own little ways, that's going to be also an indication of who you should keep around, who you should put boundaries on, or if you just want to remove them completely, right? Because those are the three options. That's it. Either you're completely gone, you get to stay, but not fully, you at like 50% or 100%. Years ago, I had talked to a young lady where she was like, you have certain friends for certain things, you compartmentalize them, right? This was my going out friend. This is my drink friend. This is my dinner friend. This is my friend that could come over and have drinks with me and my family. I could trust them around. Um, you compartmentalize everybody. This is my therapy friend. This is this. And I'm like, I don't like that. I just want to have one friend, like, or, a group of friends. And I've never been that trustworthy person to have that again. All of the people that I thought I loved and could trust grew jealous or they were intimidated in some form or fashion. Maybe they thought that I was like X and then they didn't recognize that I'm really like A. And so now that's an intimidation factor. I hate that, and sometimes I'm like, damn, I wish I would have stayed down. But at the same time, I'm like, why? Because I wanted friends. You sound fucking crazy. Like, I'm my own best friend. God is my friend. I have some family that I can, rely on, and I'm thankful for that energy. And, everybody isn't there, and that's okay. When it comes to sexual exchange, as somebody who has penned a erotic poetry book, excuse me, and this book is no longer available on Amazon or anywhere to be sold. I even came out with like a part two that was like a reloaded version, just smaller poetry, some photos included, digital, not a print copy. And I kind of got away from that as well. Um, and I was like, I didn't really want to be known as an erotic poet. I wanted to be known as an author and entrepreneur. And I still have two other erotic poetry books that I've never put out. But when it comes to sexual exchange, that is an energy exchange that some people value and some people take for granted. I always talk about how a man should just be completely upfront with what they want when it comes to dating me, because I'm going to treat you accordingly. Sometimes I know that somebody just wants to fuck, or somebody is genuinely invested in making this a long-term whatever. And I'm not into situationships. I don't do that. I'd rather keep the cookies in the cookie jar. If this is all that you want to do, tell me that, because maybe I might need some D and I might want to just have you as my little summer fling boo. But that got me into so much trouble too, having summer flings. A lot of people be single and outside, and sometimes you just looking good. You be out and then you meet somebody and you know that they probably not really single and you know that you're not really single, but if you just both so happen to be single, then now you got a summer fling on your hands, right? And I remember this one guy one time, he was like, all right, so let's pick a day in September that we have to come back and decide if we're going to be a couple or not. And I was like, okay. So we picked, I think, September 26th or some shit like that, which is the cult day because there's mad people born on that day. And I was just like, so what are we gonna decide? And he was like, he probably loved me a little bit. And there were some, times that he would come over and I would cook for him, mostly breakfast, just because I was home working from home and I was like, breakfast is always vibes. So we would have breakfast, we would talk, we would text, we would hang out. Sometimes it got a little bit more than what it was, but at the same time, I really enjoyed that thrill. And then September 26th rolls around and I'm like, all right, cool, we good. And he was mad because he was like, I know that your feelings are more invested in this and you just could shut them off. And that's scary for me. And I'm like, bro, you got a whole ass girlfriend. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, sure, I didn't know that because I didn't care. We were there for the thrill, right? For that sexual exchange, but not realizing like this is something that is happening that I'm gonna probably receive karma for later, right? And I did. It may have happened in its own kind of way, but I believe in those things all the time. Because I'd be like, if you're not honest and if you're a woman who, you know, doesn't mind being in a polygamous relationship, then everybody has to know. That's my thing, right? You're not going to sign me up to be in a poly relationship without um the man or the woman knowing. Like you have to all be on the same page. Like I don't want no problems because he's going to like it over here more. Like let's just be honest. It's new, it's adventurous, it's fun. He's going to be like, okay, I'm a little bored. I want to go over there for a little bit more time. But again, let that person know. We talked about this in the last thing, what Kanye was saying, right? Never tell nobody else. Never tell me that you're not messing with somebody else, right? There are a lot of people in this day and age that I feel are ready to explore new people, even though they may be coupled or married for X time. And I feel like as long as your foundation is solid and you know that that's going to be your forever person, nobody can permeate that vibe, that energy, right? Yes, women are naturally jealous creatures. And this is where the other side of the Libra scale comes in, right? Where I'm playing evil's advocate and I can know both sides because I always say, like, okay, if I put in a decade bid, I'm married with my husband, we are completely solid. Why couldn't we both have like an entire couple that we would want to be romantic with? This is our couple, this is our boyfriend and girlfriend. And maybe our kids can play together one day. Who knows, right? But we've agreed to these terms and we are happy with this dynamic that we created. Now I don't have to worry about my husband cheating on me. I know who the person is. We've all consented to this because we needed something different in our marriage, right? That's just me. A lot of men can't get over the concept of having their wives being intimate with somebody else, but I'm like, why is she 100% content with that energy too for X years, right? Why couldn't she have needs or want to have somebody different? And this is where I came up with the thought, okay, some people aren't really meant to be in your life for a lifetime. If you had a wife and that was your wife for 15, 20 years and you've always been faithful, y'all always been faithful to each other, but now you're just kind of like, I want to see what else is out there. I want to try something new. I think it's perfectly okay to say, hey, this isn't working out for me anymore. I'm always going to have your back. We always have this, da 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 da, but I want to see if I can build with somebody else right now. It's just where I'm at energetically. Because listen, if your person isn't growing at the same steps as you are growing, you're only going to be capped but so far, especially if this is who you decided to do a lifelong bid with, right? Maybe you need some new, fresh energy in you, to deposit it in you, pun intended, that's going to allow you to level up, right? And to grow and to become another version of free as fuck, right? Just another version of self-actualization. I feel like I love the idea of monogamy. I really do, because I want my husband to be honored in our vows and be faithful to me for, like I said, at least a decade. Let's build this solid foundation. Let's nurture our family. Let's be so solid. I know this person through and through. There's very little things that are being hidden in our dynamic. But at some point, God gave us this cooch and this vision and this peen to really continue to procreate and thrive on this earth. I don't think that it's meant to be with the same person all the time. Again, that's just me. So when it comes to sexual exchange, that is an exchange of energy, right? I intentionally make sure that if I'm ever intimate with anybody, they are on a high vibrational energetic field. I do not want nothing low vibrational, nobody who's experiencing karma, you know, in mass amounts of numbers. Everywhere they turn, they experience some type of downward energy. I don't want that in my vagina. Like, I don't want that at all. I don't want that type of energy in me because now I'm going to have to receive it. And now I'm sharing that same karma or drama with that person when I did nothing but want to be pleased for X, you know, moments of in time. We have to consider that as a serious, serious notion, right? So yeah, call me a user for wanting to only be with somebody that's high vibrational, but there comes benefits with being intimate with me too, right? I believe that I am high vibrational. I'm super, super serious about protecting my peace and super, super serious about loving my partner. The only way I'm going to be intimate with anyone is if I feel you're deemed worthy of this energy. Maybe I saw something in you that I would like to see something long term going forward, right? But if you start making displays or actions that go completely against that feeling, then you gotta go. I don't give a F what kind of energy we just shared, right? It could have been the best situation since sliced bread. If you are not being reciprocal or giving an equal give and take, then I cannot have you around. And I don't think that's wrong, right? People feel like just because they've been intimate with somebody that they have to withstand and tolerate certain types of energy and behaviors. And that is really where your boundaries have to be placed up. I've been given the short end of the stick many times in those types of occasions. And a lot of people are intimidated by my energy strictly because I'm fully conscious of what I want. Just because I want to be this, and this, and this doesn't mean that I'm just going to turn a blind eye to it just because I want it. No, I know my power. I love myself. I adore my peace. So if you're not serious about yourself, because you're clearly not, then why would I allow you to permeate the seriousness that I take control of? It's impossible. You have to know who you are and call your power back to you as often as possible. In any of these types of situations, if you're at a big time sporting event or something that is in an arena or a stadium, those are very, very powerful energy fields. These things are actually put on certain types of ley lines or certain demographic or geographic lines and forces where it's intentional that energy is poured into that mega field or that mega force to harness that energy, to cultivate that energy to do something else. Football fields, stadium fields, concert arenas, sporting fields, baseball, schools, all that stuff. Consider those things, right? That is not a lie. Somebody sent me a video today of DC and where it lies on and how these things correspond and make certain types of symbolism. That's not fake, right? Everything is intentionally done with a greater purpose. And who is the recipient of those high vibrations of that energy, right? You also have to consider that. If they knew they wanted to put a stadium on this field at this specific point, what type of energy is being pulled once it is fully charged, like a battery, right? And that's why it takes so long to recover from a concert. That's why it takes so long to recover from sporting events or things that take big time energy out of you. And that's why it's so important for you to be able to sit still with yourself, to unplug, to uncharge, because now you are charged up. Back to the arguments. If somebody has you charged up like a bull and you're ready to attack, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, babe, let me give you some head so you can now be nice to me. That's fucking gaslighting, and you're a narcissist. Probably not diagnosed, but you probably should need to be. And y'all accepting that as peaches and cream because you think that being intimate with somebody is a perfect energy to make kiss and make up when you're sweeping way too much energy under the rug. You're not using your words to communicate. You're only allowing actions to be the only result. And that's terrible. I don't want to be around nobody that acts like that. Right. Sometimes I guess it's okay, especially if it was something stupid and petty and you know it's stupid and petty. But again, you still need to use your words and communicate your likes and dislikes. Oftentimes I like to sit back and just watch shit play out. And maybe I'm wrong for that too, because I don't be wrong. Being as intuitive as I am, I feel like I've received more powerful downloads, just by sitting out in the sun and such, that I'm able to just see people for who they are. And it's a gift and a curse because it's a pain in the ass when you know that somebody is coming all force false and they try to tell you that it's something else, right? Think about spring equinox, winter solstice, all of those fall and spring things. If you received a new job, like I said, a relationship, if you're going through a spiritual awakening, a lot of people right now have been awakened to just the world and the society that we're living in, right? They're completely knowledgeable about where we are as a people and who we are as a people and what that does for our bodies energetically or on a societal standpoint. How are you taking control of that energy present day? Just thinking, especially when it comes to relationships, just me practicing divorce and recognizing that I no longer wanted to do that. It was safer for me to be single because the last one took a blow out of me. And people are like, why are you this age and still single? And it was like, I literally took myself off the market for 6 years. And while I probably should have just jumped immediately back in and started dating and fucking around, I chose not to. I'm not a person who wants to just have frivolous, intimate partners because those create soul ties. Sometimes you don't even recognize that it creates soul ties, right? I don't want to continue to put that energy out there like that because I have to now deal with that energy. So maybe I missed the ball, with being intimate with somebody, or maybe I missed the ball of sharing my life with somebody and I just channeled that energy into myself and took a keen assessment of who was for me and who wasn't, if I should keep this person around, if I felt like they were competing with me in some which way. All of those things are equally important. And I think that it's okay to be these things. Women are conceiving and having children well into their 40s now, more than ever. So I don't feel like I'm behind or delayed in any time because you know what? I'm coming with a whole ass empire. Like, I don't feel like that all went in vain at all. We see so many people getting divorces and so many people finding their true soulmates because that's what's supposed to be happening right now. You got certain planets going into retrograde that's meant for you to transmute that energy and assess who is for you and who is not. We just got out of a full moon cycle. Again, who is for you and who is not. Cleanse and transmute that energy, push yourself higher into certain mindsets and into higher consciousness, you will find your soul family. If you are arguing with anybody right now every single day, shit, even once a month, that's too much for me, right? I'm so, so, so devoted to peace and I thrive in that space that I really have little to no like patience for that shit present day. And I feel like the right person will come find you. Doesn't matter what the person's status is, doesn't matter, right? You just have to also be aware that, you know, people are out here who want the same things as you. And guess what? They're probably in the house too. Um, so the whole point of this is just making sure that you continue to protect your energy in the best way that you know how. And if it's working for you, but yet you also want to step out there and date, then I employ you to go sit out at your favorite restaurant by yourself. Go sit at the bar. If you're a workaholic like how I am, you bring your laptop with you and you still get the work done, but now you're also in a position to um go out and meet somebody. You don't necessarily have to meet people at a club, even if you go to like a botanical garden or a museum, figure out ways to date yourself, to put yourself out there, devote some type of time to self so that you can find other people who mirror you, right? I love a good festival. Festivals are my jam. You tend to meet people there. People are usually just rolling through. Maybe they drove by, walked by, and like, oh, what's this? Okay, cool. I didn't even notice this happening today. Now you got another single person thriving and walking around where they may be able to meet you, right? So it's things like that that you have to pay attention to. What energy are you putting out in the universe? If you are praying for a mate, are you even putting yourself out there to meet one, right? Consider these things when making these decisions. But first and foremost, make sure that the people who are around you, if you are noticing clues, energy, they saying slick comments, just take a mental note. For instance, there was a chick that I used to rock with forever. Me and her had got matching tattoos as kids, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't even fucking interested in the tattoo. But I'm like, if she feels like I'm a good enough friend that she loves and adores, and she wants to get this tattoo as a solidification for our friendship. Cool. I've done that multiple times with people. I've done it with my sister. I've done it with that individual, and then I did it with an old best friend. And when I found out the girl covered up her fucking tattoo, I definitely said something about it. Don't get me wrong, but that was the first instance of me knowing that something wasn't right. Because why? Why? This tattoo that I got on my shoulder right now, somebody gave me a matching one, or they got one for my birthday just as a commitment. Like, hey, we're going to be together. This is what I see for our relationship, and this is my serious commitment to you. When are you getting yours? And that moment, I felt immediately pressured to do it too. And I'm like, I ain't getting your fucking name. We could do these numbers though. And that's exactly what took place. As soon as that relationship was severed, they immediately covered it up. So now it's, hey, boo, hey. So now you're like, okay, could you really have loved and honored this person, or what was you doing with that intent? Because here I am, 15 some odd years out of that relationship, and I still got the tattoo on my shoulder, right? I don't even care what that person did with theirs, but that's two times that this has happened to me. And it just makes me wonder and question, how serious were those relationships, or what was the thing that caused you to turn your back on that friendship, and that's fine, because I'm me and I own my power and I own everything that I've done. I don't regret anything. The only thing I probably would regret is not speaking up for myself a lot more than I have. But I'm thankful I did that, because it just taught me a lot about people. It allowed me to focus on myself in a way that I knew that I needed, but lacked that seriousness. Someone trying to take my life away from me this past year, forced me to awaken to people's feelings and how they may have felt against me or about me, when for me it was nothing but love. I give out what I want to receive. So if somebody is intentionally throwing black magic at you, and that could really be in the spiritual realm, it could be through words, it could be written down, it could be thoughts, all that projecting can affect you, right? But you have to have such a foundation of protection and be operating in that for so long that naturally it just repels. You don't even have to do anything, because you know that you are automatically protected, right? My ancestors, how many times have we heard of this? My ancestors don't play about me. How many times have you heard people say that? And then they be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody hears that. And then some shit start happening to you. And you be like, hold on. Did she put a spell on me? Did she do this? Did she do that? No, I just told you my ancestors don't play about me. Now you got paranormal activity in your house thinking it's my fault, and I really be in here sleeping like a baby. What? Wow. The fact that you would even give me credit for shit like that is crazy talk. Hey, thank you. But no, I'm not into shit like that. Like, I'm not gonna put no spells, no none of that shit. Because baby, if I did, it's gonna be way worse than what you're experiencing. You understand? I'm mad that I even be giving y'all credit in these videos half the time. But that's because I need to stay ahead of my own self, right? I'm honest. I don't care about putting this shit out in the ethers. Why not talk about it, right? 1444 o'clock. Why not talk about it? Let's just be honest, about it, and recognize that I'm not here to play games with anybody. I'm always going to continue to have this type of protection around me. I know who I am. I know my power. I know what I bring, so it's important for you to protect your energy in whatever way you feel is best for you. If you are that person to dibble and dabble into magic and spells and jars and lighting shit up and burning candles, la 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 la, great. All that is fire. I'll burn some candles. I'll pray to my ancestors, I'll honor them. But we're not doing that every day. I don't have to do that every day. There was a time when I did that altar stuff for 2 years straight, literally had a consultation call on how to do it right. And then I was like, intuitively, I feel like it's best for me to do it this way. So why should I or need a consultation when I know who I am and I know what my power is, just off the DNA. And when I started doing the ancestor worshiping and recognizing that, I started having paranormal activity in my house, and I'm like, hold on, there's a reason why a lot of cultures have altars outside, right? Sure, I could burn a candle with some significance and some meaning, but first off, please put your ancestors outside where they belong, because, child, I've had some experiences. Or just have a space large enough for them to thrive, right? Because spirits be roaming around. Sometimes they need that. I think the word I want to use is like veneration, to honor them so that their soul can segue and transition into a new dimension. That is a real thing, right? We're playing around with spirits and operating with energies because the veil is thinner. You probably got more people that have come in, or maybe they just want to come and check on you, like so and so, is defeating the curse that was put on our bloodline during slave times, and they actually have beat that. Like, what are you talking about? I want to come see her. So now I'm asking God for a sign, praying like, hey, God, if this person is for me, if this job is for me, if these people are for me, if, then give me a sign. I want to see blank. Bring that to my energy within the next 48 hours for me to know it's real. And then that shit fucking pop up. My sign just flew across again, right? Um, all of those things are real, right? What type of relationship do you have with the Most High where those things can be revealed to you, right? How many times have you prayed, hey, God, please show me who is for me and who is against me? And if they are against me, please remove them. Child, I said that shit 3 times last year. You want to talk about clearing house? Sometimes like hours later, minutes later, like that should be like that. And that's why that's the most powerful prayer thing that you could ever ask God for, is to reveal the people around you, and or weed out the people who are not supposed to be around you. And that shit will happen. And sometimes it hurts. And sometimes you'll be like, this is what I just asked for. So last year I had asked for that shit on 3 separate occasions. And every time I asked for it, removed down to the parents. Like, what? What? You never know. You just never know. They're never gonna know. That's like my favorite conversation topic right now. Um, Again, I'm suffering with an allergy reaction right now, and I'm so hungry, but I need to like calm down my system right now to like regenerate, because I almost took myself out, like high key. And, when you are experiencing new allergies, and if you've never been one to read labels, you really have to read the labels. And this is when I was thinking to myself, like, when I was vegan, full on raw vegan, and eating as healthy as can be, which was in this picture, people body shamed me. They shamed me so bad, like, called me all types of crackheads. And I'm like, why couldn't it be that pure shit? Like, why I gotta be a crackhead? But I was healthy and I was happy. And there are some pictures, sure, if you look at the wrong age, you'd be like, she looked like a fucking bobblehead. But I started eating according to my blood type because it was better for me energetically. And truth be told, now it's like I really have to go back to being super duper healthy again, because guess what? I'm getting allergies from shit that's normal. And the problem is that Mother Earth isn't being honored in the way that she should. I should be able to go out to any tree in any backyard, in any house, anywhere in the world, and just pick from it and wash it off and eat it. I shouldn't have to buy produce. I shouldn't have to buy water. Like, think about it. You have running water, but it has all chemicals just because they want it to be mass produced. Like, terrible, terrible. But I'm gonna go. Pray this helps you. You want to hear more, let me know. Gratitude, much gratitude and love to everybody who's been showing me love. Being a micro influencer is not something that I thought would stick. It was just a way for me to share my thoughts with people. I had decided on May 1st, 2019, that I wanted to put myself in a different bracket because, if you take any type of business classes, they're always going to tell you that you are the brand. I love that people can associate these helmets or just astronauts, any type of astronaut, with me as an entity, as Nadia, as Queen Goddess Hope. I adore that my work is, reflected in a positive light, and my community honors that and shows love every single time I put out new content. Like, I love that. And some days I don't have it in me. Like, I'm naturally a human. I'm not immortal or a Martian from outer space. Like, well, I am, but that wasn't a good example. I'm human. Let's just say I'm still human, having a Martian having a human experience, and recognizing that I get and grow weary. But because, I am paid for this, you feel like you have to keep going. And I just recognize that there is a value in the pause. But just know, when I take a break, I'm letting y'all know, hey, I'm going on vacation. I'll record when I come back. I'm going to take 7 days off or whatever the case may be. And y'all just gonna love it, right? I'm putting out new content every single day. That takes a lot out of me as well. Sometimes when I feel like I get an allergic reaction, or it's God's way of telling me to be still and calm down. So that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to get back into bed. It is Monday. I don't even know how I'm on the computer right now because I started the day earlier this week. Tomorrow, all I'm doing is batching content. For me and my clients, if I am seeking out new social media clients, strictly for the LinkedIn space right now. So if you are interested in becoming a new client, please send me a message. Um, Dr. Letitia, shout out to you. Shout out to my new client, Marsha. I've been working with Marsha since March, and her page is just continuously growing, which I'm thankful for. So again, if you're interested in launching your LinkedIn presence or having a new social media career, you have a project or a business development concept that you're trying to maximize or to solidify, please let me know. I'll definitely make room for that. This week I have a big, big, big announcement coming. I'll probably launch it officially over the probably next week, Monday or something. But I have a big announcement coming up. I am so, so, so excited that I am embarking on childhood dreams in the flesh.